I discovered that abundance is not something you chase after. It is something you attract. And when I learned to align my mind, my heart, and my energy, the impossible began to happen right before my eyes. Today, I will tell you exactly how I visualized, felt, and manifested a life where abundance became my new reality. I used to believe that abundance was only for a select few. I would look at other people's lives and think, they were lucky. They were born with more opportunities. That was my inner narrative. And guess what? That story I kept telling myself was exactly what kept me stuck. One day, tired of feeling like my life was always in survival mode, I decided something had to change. I started researching manifestation, positive thinking, and the so-called law of attraction. At first, it seemed too magical to be real, but something inside me kept whispering, what if it's true? What if it really works? That's when I discovered the practice of creative visualization. I realized it wasn't enough to simply think about what I wanted. I needed to feel it. I had to create within myself the exact emotion I would have if I were already living that reality. That was the turning point. I started with something simple. Every night before going to sleep, I would close my eyes and imagine myself living the life I desired. I felt the texture of objects, heard the sounds, noticed even the scent of the environment. It was as if I were truly there. At first, my mind tried to sabotage me. You're making this up. This will never happen. But I persisted, and something curious began to happen. Small coincidences which I soon understood were signs from the universe started to appear. A friend invited me to an event where I met people who opened professional doors. An unexpected discount showed up right when I wanted to buy something. I received job offers I never imagined I would get. What changed? Me. My energetic frequency began to rise. I was coming into vibrational alignment with my desired reality. And that's when I realized abundance is not about worthiness. It's about resonance. Every day, I practiced more. I mentally created scenes where I already had everything I needed and more. I felt gratitude as if it were already real. And the more I gave thanks, the more reasons I found to be thankful. I understood that the universe responds to our powerful intentions. When the intention is clear, the visualization is vivid, and the emotion is real. Magnetic attraction is inevitable. It was at that point that my life began to change, not only financially, but in every sense. Relationships, opportunities, self-esteem. Because abundance is not just about money. It is love, peace, health, joy, and freedom. And do you know the secret? I stopped focusing on what I lacked and began to focus on what I already had. I started to see that I was already rich in experiences, friendships, and lessons. From that state of fullness, the flow of good things just kept growing. What I learned is that the external reality is a direct reflection of the internal state. When I changed my inner world, my outer world had no choice but to adjust. That's how I took the first step to manifest the abundance I live today. But what happened next was even more intense. After I realized that creative visualization was working, I knew I had to deepen that connection. I began to turn the practice into a daily ritual. It was no longer just a mental exercise. but a sacred moment between me and the universe. Every morning, before even touching my phone, I would close my eyes and take a deep breath. I would inhale light, exhale worries. I felt my body relax and my mind open space for new possibilities. In that moment, I would tell myself, today, everything conspires in my favor. I am a magnet for opportunities, joy, and prosperity. It was like tuning a radio station. If before my frequency was full of static fear, scarcity, insecurity, now I would turn the dial until I found the energetic frequency of abundance. And when I found it, it was impossible not to feel a warmth in my chest, an expanding sensation that told me, you are already there. I began to understand something powerful. Visualizing is not just seeing with your mind, it is feeling with your whole body. I would close my eyes and imagine, for example, receiving an unexpected amount of money, but I wouldn't stop there. I felt the weight of the bills in my hands, heard the sound of the paper moving, saw the colors, and most importantly, I felt the emotion, the mix of gratitude and happiness, as if it were already part of my life. And you know what's magical? The universe responds to emotion, not just to words. If you say you want abundance, but inside you vibrate at the frequency of lack, it's like ordering coffee but sending the wrong message to the waiter. He will bring you something else. The key is to align what you think, feel, and believe. That's what I call perfect vibrational alignment. When this triad comes together, co-creation happens almost automatically. A clear example of this was when I was planning my dream trip. On paper, it seemed impossible. There was no budget and not enough free time. But I began to visualize it, as if it were already booked. I smelled the local food, heard the language spoken around me, saw the vivid colors of the places I wanted to visit. I even started researching the destination as if I already had the tickets. I saved photos, watched videos, learned a few words of the local language. Each detail fed my magnetic attraction. Weeks later, a client I never imagined remembered me, contacted me offering a project that covered all the travel costs and more. My schedule opened exactly for the dates I had imagined. Coincidence? No. Pure manifestation. Over time, I realized that abundance is not limited to material goods. It is in the synchronicity of meeting the right people at the right time, in the perfect timing to act, in the opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere but are in fact the result of the magnetic field you create with your thoughts and emotions. I also began using a vision board, but not just any board. I put images that stirred emotion, not just desire. A picture of a house that felt warm and welcoming, a travel destination that made my heart race, phrases that awakened a powerful intention within me. And every time I looked at that board, I didn't think one day I will have this, but rather I am already living this. That subtle shift in thinking was what turned my magnetic attraction into something constant. I also noticed that visualization works even faster when I involve all 5 senses. So I started to enhance the practice. Hearing. I listened to music that made me feel prosperous and confident. Sight. I looked at images of places, objects, or experiences that sparked genuine desire. Touch. I handled objects that gave me a sense of luxury or comfort, even if simple. Smell. I used scents that reminded me of moments of joy, such as lavender, vanilla, or citrus. Taste. I prepared foods that made me feel like I was celebrating life. When I activated all my senses, visualization stopped being just mental and became physical. I wasn't just dreaming, I was rehearsing for the reality that was on its way. One of the greatest barriers I faced was realizing how many limiting beliefs I carried about money and prosperity. Beliefs inherited from childhood, such as money doesn't grow on trees, or to earn a lot, you have to suffer a lot, were deeply imprinted in my subconscious. I began reprogramming them using positive affirmations, spoken out loud every day. Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I am worthy of receiving unlimited abundance. My life is in constant expansion and prosperity. In the beginning, my mind resisted, but with repetition, something started to shift. I truly began to believe it. And when belief changes, frequency changes. The more I practiced, the more I noticed the universe sending me signs. A book falling off the shelf in a bookstore, a phrase on a billboard that answered a question I had, an unexpected encounter with someone who had exactly the solution I needed. These signs made me understand that abundance was already on its way. It was never a question of if, only a matter of when. I reached a point where I realized I didn't have to force anything. I just had to maintain my inner state of gratitude and trust. This conscious surrender, this act of letting go of control, made things flow even faster. I began living what I call a state of permanent abundance. No matter what happened during the day, I chose to focus on what was positive. This choice kept my frequency high and, consequently, my field of attraction always active. It was in this state of vibration that something extraordinary happened, something that proved once and for all that when you are aligned, the universe finds surprising ways to deliver what you asked for. There came a moment in my journey when I realized something transformative. I was no longer trying to manifest. I simply lived in a state of abundance, and it manifested naturally, without conscious effort. It was like breathing. You don't think about each breath, it happens. That's how it became with prosperity, opportunities, and connections. Everything flowed, even on days when, logically, there was no reason for things to be going so well. This was the most powerful point of my journey. Understanding that abundance is not something you create from scratch, it's something you unlock. It already exists, all around you and within you. What changes is your ability to notice and receive it. One of the secrets to keeping this flow constant is the daily practice of active gratitude. It's not just about being thankful for what you already have, but being thankful for what is on its way, as if it had already arrived. Every morning, before getting out of bed, I would place my hands over my heart and quietly say, I am deeply grateful for the love, health, freedom, and prosperity that surround me. Then I would open my eyes, and even if the day brought challenges, I would find something to celebrate. Sometimes it was a kind message from a friend, a quiet moment just for myself, or even the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. I began to understand that the richer I felt in simple experiences, The more big and unexpected things happened, my physical space became an essential part of my practice. I wanted my home to reflect the energy I wanted to attract. I removed broken objects or things I kept just in case and replaced them with items that made me smile. I brought in live plants, reminding me of constant growth. I moved my desk closer to the window so sunlight could illuminate my projects. With each change, I noticed how my body reacted. Feeling good in your own space is like sending a message to the universe. I am ready and open to receive. One of the biggest transformations was being mindful of what I spoke about. I no longer talked about financial struggles or crisis, even if the world insisted on those topics. I consciously chose to keep my conversations aligned with expansion and possibilities. When someone spoke about problems, I would listen, but respond from a place of hope and solutions. This kept me in the frequency I wanted, without letting scarcity energy pull me back down. I began to imagine abundance as a great river. It is always flowing, with clear and infinite waters. But often, we build mental dams, beliefs, fears, self-sabotage that block that flow from reaching us. My daily work was simply to remove the stones and let the river run freely. And I noticed that the more I released control and trusted, the stronger the river flowed. I remember a day when I had no new projects on the horizon. Instead of panicking, I did the opposite. I breathed, visualized, and gave thanks as if I had already closed an important contract. 2 days later, a company called me for a meeting. The proposal they offered was bigger than I had dared to ask for. And the most impressive part, they said they chose me because they felt my energy was exactly what they needed. That moment proved to me that energy precedes matter. As I saw results, I began sharing what I knew with people close to me. At first, many looked at me with skepticism, but when they began applying small practices like writing down 3 things they were grateful for every day, their reality began to change. One friend, for example, had been looking for a job for months. After she started practicing creative visualization and anticipatory gratitude, she received an offer that combined everything she wanted: good salary, positive environment, and flexibility. Seeing this transformation happen before my eyes confirmed that anyone can learn to live in the flow of abundance. If I could leave just one exercise for those who want to reach this point, it would be this. In the morning, close your eyes and imagine your day has already been perfect. Feel the joy as if it had already happened. During the day, mentally celebrate every good thing that happens, no matter how small. At night, write down everything positive you experienced and give thanks as if the universe had planned every detail for you. This cycle creates such a strong magnetic field that, over time, abundance stops being an effort and becomes a natural reflection of your inner state. It was in this constant state of vibration that the deepest lesson of all happened, understanding that we do not need to control every detail for everything to work out. Trusting the universal flow is the final step that seals permanent abundance. If there is one last key that closes the cycle of manifesting abundance, it is this: letting go of control. For a long time, I believed I needed to know exactly how and when things would happen. I made lists, deadlines, meticulous plans, and I felt frustrated when the universe didn't follow my script. Then I realized, trying to control everything is like trying to hold water in your hands. The more force you use, the faster it slips away. I clearly remember one night when I was worried about a project that wasn't moving forward. I closed my eyes and said out loud, "Universe, I trust you. I don't know how, but I know it is on its way." I now release all anxiety and open myself to receive. That same week, I received 3 unexpected calls, each bringing a different opportunity. None of them were exactly as I had imagined, but all of them were better. That's when I understood that when you surrender with faith, the universe works behind the scenes to create something beyond your imagination. There is a subtle yet powerful difference between wanting something and being attached to something. Desire comes with joy, enthusiasm, and openness to different paths. Attachment comes with anxiety, fear, and resistance to alternatives. When I released attachment and kept only pure desire, my magnetic field of attraction became clearer, faster, and freer. I began living each day as if everything I wanted was already here. I'm not talking about spending recklessly or pretending problems don't exist. I'm talking about feeling complete now, before any physical manifestation. When I do this, my energetic frequency stays high, and opportunities arrive naturally. It's as if I were telling the universe, I am already ready. Once, I wanted to invest in an expensive course. I knew it would bring me personal and professional growth, but I didn't have the money available. Instead of panicking, I did my daily visualization as if I had already taken the course. I felt the joy of learning, imagined applying the knowledge, and gave thanks in advance. 2 weeks later, I was invited to speak at an event, and the payment was exactly the amount of the course down to the cent. I could have spent all my time trying to invent ways to earn that money, but the universe found a path I would never have thought of. Abundance is always available. It doesn't depend on crises, governments, or external circumstances. It responds to your internal vibration, to your vibrational alignment, and to your ability to let go of control and trust. If you want more prosperity, love, health, or any form of wealth, start right now to visualize vividly and feel as if you already have it. Keep thoughts and words at a positive frequency. Give thanks for what already exists and for what is on its way. Open yourself to receive in ways you may never have imagined. Remember, you are not asking for something impossible. You are simply aligning yourself with something that is already yours by natural right. Abundance is not something you achieve. It is something you release. And when you understand this, every day becomes living proof that the universe is generous and inexhaustible. If this message touched your heart, share it so more people can learn to manifest. Subscribe to keep receiving content that raises your energetic frequency and keeps you in the flow of your desired reality.